The United States and Iran trading multiple rounds of strikes over the weekend. Iran launching missile and drone attacks on U.S. military facilities across several Gulf states. Our allies, including Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Oman, and Jordan, while warning that there could be more incidents in the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM forces responding with a new round of strikes targeting Iranian military sites late last night. President Trump discussing the latest on Fox News this morning. Listen.
Well, we're taking over the Strait. They have nothing. They've got nothing. So something that nobody knows, yesterday they had an 11-hour meeting. Everything's 11 hours with these guys. You know, you can't settle a one sentence in 1 hour, in 1 minute. It should be 1 minute. And everything was agreed to yesterday. And they leave the room, and they call back, and they say, we had to make a couple of changes. I said, changes? They got to make changes? We're not going to make changes. We're going to keep the Strait, and we'll probably run it. We'll become the guardian of the Strait. Maybe we'll call it the guardian angel of the Strait. And we should be reimbursed for that. When we do that, we're going to be reimbursed because the other nations are very wealthy. They're on our side. And we can't be expected to do that for nothing.
Joining me now, Heritage Foundational National Security Vice President Victoria Coates. Victoria, so where do we stand with Iran, in your opinion, this morning? We've had another weekend of strikes traded back and forth. You heard the president. They have hours of talks. They walk out of the room, then they strike.
Well, Cheryl, good to be with you. Yes, I think that, the president's quite frustrated with the Iranians. I think we all are. The deal here is clear. But what he's declared at the end of last week is the ceasefire is over. So he's retained every right to strike them whenever he wants, wherever he wants. They can't do anything about it. So we saw, 140 strikes last night. Also, very importantly, on Friday, Secretary Bessent announced sanctions on a man named Ali Ansari, who is essentially the banker to the supreme leader. He runs their real estate empire around the world, and he was operating with impunity out of Dubai and UAE. Now that's over. That gravy train is going to get cut off, and that's going to hurt the new supreme leader where it really does hurt, in his wallet. So that's going after the personal finances of the leadership, and I think that's going to start to put the real squeeze on them to force them ultimately into this deal.
Well, that's why I thought, and I emphasized this morning, the fact that you're going after, they were going after U.S. military facilities in Bahrain, in Qatar, the UAE, but, those Gulf neighbors have now turned, Iran into the pariah that we knew they were for decades. But how much are they willing to do about it, I think, is the question, Victoria.
Well, that's what we're starting to see here, and I think that's really important. So also, Cheryl, keep an eye on Oman, because Oman is on the other side of the strait from Iran. They're doing a really, really good job economically. They're climbing by 19 points this year in Heritage's Index of Economic Freedom. They're a real success story in the Gulf. Not a huge energy producer like Kuwait or UAE or Saudi, but doing a great job organizing their economy. They should have nothing to do with Iran. They should embrace that principle of free commerce and say, hey, our side of the strait is open. And I think you would see President Trump and the rest of the administration really embrace them. And the fact that Iran took a shot at Oman last night, the one that they should be trying to partner with, shows you they don't know what they're doing. They're just taking pot shots at this point. I don't think there's a lot of command and control coming out of Tehran. That makes the situation even harder to deal with.
There was a lengthy piece, I believe, in Politico this morning about the fact that, the Iranian, we took out so many layers of Iranian leadership that there's no communication happening, and there's really no decision maker. We've been saying that from the beginning. Who are we negotiating with? And you've got completely different factions within, the Iranian leadership, which is, again, been somewhat decimated. And the president has been saying that over and over. We've crushed them. We've killed their military. We've killed their leadership. So what's left? So it's something we're going to be watching. I want to ask you about China, because China is pushing back on the South China Sea arbitration ruling on its 10th anniversary. Now, this comes in direct response to a joint statement by the U.S. and other allies reaffirming their commitment to maintaining a free and open Indo-Pacific region. I spoke to Gatestone Institute senior fellow Gordon Chang earlier, warning against China's expansionist ambitions. Listen to what he told us earlier.
China rejects that ruling, even though it's by treaty obligated to follow it. But the thing here is that it's not just South China Sea anymore. You have China laying a sovereignty claim to part of the Pacific Ocean. I mean, this is just ludicrous. But yes, China is moving towards Hawaii, and we've got to understand how far the Chinese are going to go, because Xi Jinping is not going to stop. He's going to continue going.
You know, Victoria, Xi Jinping is also, he's stated recently that his backing and friendship with Kim Jong-un in North Korea isn't changing, and that he wants to safeguard both countries as global tensions rise. Your reaction?
No, I think Gordon's absolutely correct. China's going to just keep pushing at the edges, keep trying to expand the territory they control, and we really just can't stand for it. And there are a couple of reasons for that, Cheryl. First and foremost, China's the biggest threat for us. If they're starting to encroach toward Hawaii, toward sovereign U.S. territory, toward a United States state, then that has to be pushed back against. But then also, as we look at the globe right now, and we're looking for economic opportunities for the United States, not only is the Indo-Pacific the source of that great threat, it's the source of our greatest opportunity for economic expansion. We have, peer nations like Japan, South Korea. We have huge opportunities in Taiwan, partnership with Australia, but then developing nations, Cambodia, Vietnam. This is where, and India, an incredible opportunity. This is where the action's going to be going forward. This is where all the growth opportunities are. So it's not just the security threat, it's also the economic opportunity in the Indo-Pacific that really commands our attention here. And that's why we can't stand for China just continuing to try to bully its way into a bigger sphere of influence. Which
makes the stakes so high, considering that the president invited Xi Jinping to the United States in September for a summit. I want to ask you about Ukraine, because President Zelensky is set to meet with leaders of the EU today in Paris. He's pushing for more defense support from his Western allies. Kyiv is now facing massive shortages. Russia launched missile drone attacks on a weapons facility that was just outside of the city over the weekend. 8 people died, dozens were wounded. Ukraine retaliated. They put more strikes out against Russia's key infrastructure. They went after an oil tanker in the Black Sea Canalway. The Ukrainian military reportedly attacked over 40 Russian tankers in the last few weeks. I mean, are we any closer to ending this almost 5-year war? And I would like to get your comment on the fact that Senator Lindsey Graham, that was his last trip. He was in Kyiv on Friday. And then he obviously came home and he passed away tragically over the weekend. What do you think this means for Ukraine? Because Senator Graham was pushing and said that the Trump administration had agreed to lay down more sanctions on Russia. Is that stalled now because of Senator Graham's death, do you think?
Oh, no, I don't think so. And, there's broad bipartisan support for sanctioning Russia and for cutting out, Putin's financing for his war machine. And certainly with the United States now far outstripping Russia in terms of energy production. We're at, 13.6 million barrels a day. Russia's at 9 and change. If we continue that expansion, Russia becomes, less and less of, critical player for us, for United States interests. But I think also, Ukraine's been doing a lot of things right, putting a lot of pressure on Russia in terms of its of degrading its energy infrastructure, its ability to refine crude oil into actual usable products. So I think that's going to help us get to the table, and that's something Senator Graham said, as he was coming back from this trip, that we were getting some momentum on Ukraine's side. And so yes, obviously Senator Graham and I didn't agree on a lot of things. He was an absolutely wonderful, warm, funny person. We enjoyed the debate on these various topics. And I really think, from a personal standpoint, the greatest loss for President Trump is that independent voice. Senator Graham had his job. President Trump has his. They were good friends. And the president can trust Senator Graham to just be honest with him, tell him what he thought. He wasn't beholden to the president for a job. And that was a really, really valuable sounding board, I think. So he will be dearly missed by all of his colleagues, I believe, in the Senate and by the president as well.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Victoria Coates, thank you so much for your perspective this morning. It's great to see you, Victoria.
Thank you, Cheryl.
All right.